Today, welcome to Martalks. I'm your host, Daryl Rosenstein. Martalks is where we discuss contemporary issues in the e-commerce and marketing technology landscape. And today we're joined by the founder of Littledata, Edward Upton. Did I get that right, Edward?
You did. Thank you, Daryl. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, I really like to start off by pronouncing someone's name correctly. It really sets the tone for the rest of the interview. So, what exactly does Littledata do?
So Littledata provides super accurate revenue tracking for e-commerce brands, mainly on Shopify. And so we help brands get much more accurate data into the marketing channels they're already using. So obviously Google, Meta, TikTok, Pinterest, and now Klaviyo.
Well, I look at revenue tracking and being able to understand where you get your clicks and your buys from, but what was it that led you to actually want to create a solution to solve that problem?
Yeah, the backstory is I was working as a sort of analytics consultant in London, working with some sort of larger brand groups here, brands like Made.com, sadly, didn't make it through the session, and Fig Leaves, JD Williams Group, which did. And what I saw a lot was that these are big data-driven brands. They're employing lots of people doing customer acquisition and performance marketing. And even then, they're just having a constant problem every month with just actually making sure the report they see of where their spend's going actually makes sense and is based in facts. And what I realized is an opportunity to kind of productize all the stuff we could do kind of on the edge of analytics as consultants and roll that into a SaaS product that the brand could just set up, configure, and go in the knowledge that their revenue tracking was effectively unbreakable.
Being able to track your revenue effectively and being able to optimize it obviously is a very noble goal. But what's the biggest problem that your clients actually solving once they have Littledata live?
Yeah, so I think what most of the brands we work with, come to us with this nagging suspicion that the reports they're used to seeing in Google Analytics or in Facebook ads or wherever are not actually quite right. They often don't know what the root cause is. They don't know enough about the underlying tracking to know that it's off, but they just don't trust it. And one of the reasons they don't trust it is the revenue they see there just doesn't match the revenue that they know from their e-commerce platform, from their Shopify admin that they've actually done that week. And so, if you can't sort of make the high level metrics line up, all of the underlying, all of the more detailed reports starts to lose. You start to lose confidence in it. What I think the most transformational thing we see when we fix that and we install our app and suddenly those revenue metrics start matching is that people can actually trust what they're doing again, which means that they can actually have confidence to spend more on those platforms. But actually, it's not just about reporting. It's also the fact that often the tactics are then better because they're now getting, for example, more accurate recurring orders or information about upsells or other tactics they're using. They can actually better target those customers and better target those tactics in the marketing platforms. So I think it's a mixture of kind of better trust in the data, better reporting quality, but also actually getting more return on ad spend just because you can use more effective tactics with more granular data points.
Yeah, I think I share that particular disposition with a lot of chief digital officers, that feeling that, something isn't right, something
Right.
is horribly wrong, and I
Yeah.
really can't put my finger on it. Something's rotten out there. Something's right. And this is providing clarification, which is wonderful. And I think I can use it every day. But, how would you contrast Littledata's functionality to the many advertising performance analytics solutions that are on the market?
Yeah. See, I think there's a lot of. I mean, I guess I would say this right because, but I'm pushing something different. I'm pushing basically get the actual revenue tracking fixed in the ad platform itself, rather than trying to use a third-party tool to bring it all together and give you a single source of truth. Because what I see over the long term with platforms that offer that single source of truth, and some of the popular ones at the moment are ones like sort of Triple Whale, Northbeam, actually it ends up just being another thing that doesn't line up. The problem is at the end of the day, does it actually help you to have this third party tool that's telling you a number, or because it's still not going to match what you see in Shopify and what you see in Google and Meta. My view is it's kind of better to have fewer tools, fewer reporting tools you're using, but just get the numbers right, rather than add another whole reporting tool to your stack. And I guess that the other point there is that, while I think some of these platforms these reporting tools do a really good job of having a pretty dashboard, lots of nice charts, easy to use. Actually, if you know what you're doing with Google Analytics and Looker Studio and BigQuery, it's a very powerful free reporting stack. Like there's no particular need to not use it just because it's complicated. I mean, as I said, if you accept the learning curve, you can get an awful lot of free value there from a tool that Google's giving away.
Well, then Littledata, just like yourself, Edward, is not just another pretty face.
No, and I think we've in fact that's one of the challenges to growth. I think is that when people think of analytics tool, they do tend to think of a kind of pretty dashboard, and that's exactly what the majority of people who come to us and have heard of the brand, their automatic assumption is we're another dashboard tool, and that's in fact the first thing I say to customers is that's not what you're gonna find here. If you're hoping for a nice, pretty coloured chart, it's not us. What we're about is the kind of rolling our sleeves up and actually making the underlying tracking and data capture work so that your data pipeline is robust, which means that the end reports are actually valid and truthful.
Outstanding. Well, I mean, obviously, you've the rubber has met the road, and you've had this deployed and live with a number of major retailers at this point. What's been your favorite business case to date?
Yeah, I think we're lucky enough to have some really great case studies, but I think perhaps one of the ones I'd highlight is a jewelry brand called Jackson, because I think what they found is just really the power of actually using the data into Meta, particularly to actually enhance the performance of their campaigns. So we have lots of customers who say it's great, you fix my reports, that's useful. But I think what I loved hearing from Jackson was actually how they've used our data to actually come up with better tactics in Meta that just perform better. Because now they've got more granular audiences, they've got other sort of events they can retarget based on people who've added to cart or converted. And I love the fact that that's actually seeing, kind of seeing a meaningful kind of 80% uplift in their campaign performance.
Have they been able to figure out what kind of a campaign really does lead to men actually buying more nose rings?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's. I mean, I guess targeting the right kind of man is probably the obvious answer there. It only appeals to some people, but I think it's I think it varies. The exact benefits vary per brand, but I definitely think one of the key things we find with clients is that they've got to the more sort of sophisticated and data driven their ad strategy is, the more they're going to get out of the data. Because ultimately, as one of my colleagues put it, if all of your Facebook ads budget is just dumping people on your homepage, then no amount of tracking quality improvements is actually going to optimize that campaign. But if you're doing cleverer stuff like sort of dynamic product retargeting, those kind of ads, then yeah, that has a big impact.
Well, you're dealing with a broad cross section of digital marketing agencies when you're talking about campaign management, what ads you should place where, should they be on Meta, should they be on Google, should be advertising on AWS, and so on and so forth. But what kind of partners have been best for Littledata in terms of being aware of your solution and then introducing your solution or utilizing your solution for those merchants?
Yeah, so I think we work a lot with agencies of all types, performance marketing agencies, CRO agencies, design and build agencies. So for anyone listening to the podcast, is in that world, I'd say please reach out. We have a great partner program. And I think the reason that it works so well as a channel for us is that, first of all, we're solving a major pain point. Most agency managers that I talk to, that's one of their top sort of customer gripes is, I don't think those reports are quite working. They don't want to step in them because it's ultimately not the service they're providing, but it's kind of a blocker for their business. Like particularly if I take CRO agency partner. We work with many great ones, but ones I've been talking to particularly last few weeks is a agency called Prismfly, based out of New York, and they the thing is, if you're doing conversion rate optimization, if you don't have a baseline of like, exactly like for like, how the funnel steps are working, then it's very difficult to, to make any concrete improvements because you don't know what it was like before, how it's getting better. So I think that what they love about us is that we can just go in, they know that all of like the checkout steps, all of those sort of funnels are going to be exactly tracked like for like, and then they can just get on with their job of trying to optimize it. As I said, it's not like they're in the business of selling reporting. That's not what they're doing. But they love it if they can, use a tool that basically makes their job easier and unblocks them from doing a better job as an agency.
Well, obviously, performance marketing are looking at clicks and
Yeah,
they're looking at views, but you're measuring many things
right.
amongst the many. What channels have driven the most
Yeah.
traffic to the website, and then the resulting transaction? But how does your AI go on to actually value that data further for the merchant?
Yeah, so actually, it's the what I always push is that Google and Meta and so on have always are the ones that invested heavily in all in the AI. The thing is that their predictive algorithms, are only as good as the data points you feed. So, for example, Google's quite good at predicting the lifetime revenue of a customer, but only if you can tell it in detail what that customer's done. If it doesn't know that the customer added to cart or signed up for your newsletter, signed up for a subscription purchase, obviously it has no basis for prediction. So the thing that we're solving is not necessarily developing our own algorithms, but making the algorithms of, frankly, the leading algorithm developers in the world work a lot better. As they say, garbage in, garbage out. Any machine learning model is going to be useless if you're not feeding it a complete picture of the customer journey.
There's more than enough garbage data out there, and making sure you're not creating more on the daily is a wonderful functionality to have if you're looking at those spreadsheets. Well, yeah, I'm a big fan of the entire composable commerce movement, and one of the leading providers in data is Klaviyo. And Littledata does have an integration with Klaviyo, and one of your use cases that I saw that fascinated me is how it would address abandoned carts and user identification matching using first-party data.
Yeah, thanks for highlighting that. It's been a really exciting launch we've had just a couple of weeks ago. We're now sort of one of the few, I think one of the first 10 partners to integrate with Klaviyo's, on their official integrations directory. So yes, what the latest is doing is basically, as you say, better identity resolution. And what that means is that you have as a brand lots of customers on your storefront who are interacting with the site, adding products to the cart, but maybe not completing the order. And some of those customers are also people that are on your CRM, they're on your email list, right? But the challenge has always been that you don't know that because at the point at which they're browsing and considering a purchase, they're not logged in. They on an e-commerce storefront, there's no login. So the challenge is how do you kind of match those profiles together and say, this visitor right here is actually Edward, who's on your email list over here. So if you did want to email him, now's your chance. And that's the problem we're solving. And the solution, I guess, without going too deep into the tech, is basically about using our identity graph, pulling together a whole load of different cookie identifiers and what's actually happening on the Shopify cart, and being able to link those together so that if they are someone you already know, if they have through some previous journey kind of identified themselves as a particular person on your list, then you can retarget them. And what that means in practical terms is we're seeing kind of a 40 to 50% uplift in the number of people that you can actually email with an abandoned cart campaign. And probably something we're just launching for abandoned browse campaigns, which is obviously people always like view the product but don't add it to cart. We're seeing an even bigger uplift. So pretty significant. Said 40% if you're getting, and for most brands we talk to, that is their single most successful tactic in Klaviyo, their single biggest flow. And so it's a meaningful improvement.
Being able to literally double the number of absolute 100% compliant
Yeah,
customer profiles that you have through utilizing Littledata and Klaviyo is phenomenal, because first
It's
party
game
data
changing.
acquisition is an absolute critical need for any merchant today because cookies are gone, third party cookies are gone. We've got the major providers out there, particularly mobile providers like Apple, locking down privacy data. We don't have GDPR yet in the U.S., but it's a coming. We've already got it in
Yeah.
several states, including California. I mean, being aware of how to capture first party data and make an action is a fantastic functionality.
And there are opportunities to, we're all about that, helping share first party data with Google and Meta. In fact, Google made quite an interesting product update a couple of weeks ago to enable you to share sort of server side that first party data with them to sort of link a purchase back to a Google profile rather than just a cookie. But I think with Klaviyo, there's a much bigger opportunity because brands are already investing heavily in retention marketing. As what happened last year is a lot of brands decided, look, investing in paid ads is sort of a road to nowhere. We need to double down on our own channels. But the dirty little secret is that most of them are not, in fact, making the most out of their own channel. They're not in a seamless way sharing that first party data with their own email marketing platform, which means there's just a huge opportunity to kind of maximize what they're already investing in. So they've done all the hard work of setting all the flows, configuring all the software up, making sure the copy and the imagery and stuff looks sweet. It's just all about the fact that you need to actually set the triggers so that you can send those things out at the right time.
Well, as I mentioned, Klaviyo is part of the composable commerce movement, and I'm interested in composable commerce and being able to integrate the functionality of a Littledata into your platform if you're utilizing, say, Commerce Tools or Elastic
Yeah.
Path or Spryker is easier due to how you've architected it.
So we try. I mean, I guess the good news is, by taking a kind of what I might call a sort of server API first approach to tracking, some of the core functionality is there. I guess the complexity with composable commerce is that, most of these sort of cloud e-commerce platforms, or whatever you call them, is it non-composable? Is that a thing, or maybe you call them
Monoliths. We
legacy
call them
monoliths? That's
monoliths,
right.
Edward.
That's the right word. That's the right word. Most monolith platforms would include some kind of out-the-box tracking for all the kind of shopping steps, adding to cart, going through checkout, and that's because all those things are kind of one part of the monolith platform. It's easy for them to offer that end-to-end customer journey platform because it all happens in one, in effectively one thing. So that's the challenge of moving to composable or headless, as Shopify likes to call it, is that suddenly that isn't out of the box anymore. As a someone building the storefront, you've got to do a bit more work to actually make sure those the tracking plan and the tagging is configured for all of those same standard shopping steps. You still want to track. You still want to track, product listing pages, product detail pages, adds to cart, checkouts. But this time you've got to instrument those themselves. I guess there's sort of two ways we're trying to make that easier. We don't currently have an integration for Commerce Tools, Elastic Path, or Spryker, but definitely on the roadmap. But for headless Shopify and BigCommerce, which we do support, the good thing is we've built an npm package that integrates with the sort of the Next.js storefront that most of those brands would be adopting. And that just makes it really easy. So again, the developers can have to do a little bit of work to actually instrument the tagging of those events, but we have a sort of standard event schema and library they can tap into to do that. And importantly, what we're trying to do, and this is actually what segment.com made, why they got super popular sort of 10 years ago, is just kind of having one, fire the call once and then send it off to multiple data destinations from the server. So that's the other beauty, is you don't have to have like 10 different tags on the storefront. You can have just one Littledata tag effectively and then relay it to other destinations.
Well, outstanding. I'm glad that you've got the major composable platforms on the roadmap. I think that's shrewd. Not to mention that's where the market's going, and I'm hoping that those folks from all of those wonderful platforms engage with Littledata and make that reality sooner rather than later. But
I think so, and I think it's me. Well, for us, it's been quite a fundamental shift for being, kind of more of what I would call a developer-first approach. That traditionally, Littledata was a no-code platform. You just our app just installs a tracking script. You didn't have to worry about it. What we realized when we go into the composable world is obviously that's actually not what people want. They want low code. They want to be able to make it super simple to set up, but they do actually want to be able to customize and configure it as they want.
yeah, developer experience is a
Yeah,
huge boon for the composable solutions. The developers enjoy using them. And it allows those developers, whenever a business user has a request for a new feature or function, for them to say yes more often than not,
right.
or at least be able to be up for the discovery process with a low code tool.
Exactly, and that's what we kind of want to harness is, the developers are as our friends, not our adversaries.
Well, you have actually a bunch of developers that work with you there at Littledata, and this isn't your first rodeo, your first time as a founder. And I guess since you've grown and expanded your team since opening the doors not long ago, what's been your biggest challenge this time around as a founder?
Yeah, so I had a previous startup. You're right, in the ed tech world, about just over 10 years ago, we sort of wound that up. I think that what I learned from that first experience was the importance of building a team. I think we built a product, but we never really built a team. Like everything was sort of outsourced, and actually it was really interesting. Obviously a tough learning as a founder, but when we went out to actually try and sell that business, I realized actually people wanted to, you know, they would have if we were a team, they wanted to buy us for the talent, but they didn't really want to buy us for the customer base or the content, which is what we thought they'd value. So I think when I started Littledata, I was very keen that we built the team first and the product second, and I'm very proud of that. But I think we've had extremely loyal, diverse team. We're a remote first team, so we have basically 30 of us spread from kind of Canada down right through to kind of Ukraine. So it's a big sort of sweep of North America and Europe. And I think what that means is that that's given us the the loyal team has allowed us to pivot and keep going and keep changing as we evolve, because you don't get it right with a startup the first time round. There's inevitably pivots you have to make along the way to change, to go in a different direction with the product or sell to a different customer base. And I think it's having a solid team behind me means that I know we don't need to worry about that. We have people that will keep up as we change direction.
Well, with a remote team, which is the way most again startups are building out these days, how do you effectively drive collaboration, and what sort of collaboration tools and events have you had?
Yeah, so I think we use obviously all the standard stuff, Slack, Zoom, etc. But I think in our culture we found that having kind of twice yearly offsites where we meet up in person has been invaluable to that. So I'm a big believer that when you do actually want to do something new, collaborate, really do an innovation. It's very much easier to do that face to face. We tried during kind of COVID times to run design sprints and stuff remotely, and it's very painful. You just don't get the same kind of free thought and people sharing without it's psychological safety. It's very hard, I think, with big sort of video calls to really have that safety where people will go, "Hey, have we thought of this?" or "Why are we not doing this?" And those are the insights that drive innovation. So I think what we found is that by just having a few weeks a year, a couple of weeks a year as sort of whole company and probably a couple more weeks in smaller teams, that's enough sort of builds enough trust and psychological safety to be able to truly innovate the rest of the time. That's how it works for us. I know everyone has a different experience, but I don't think you can replace the face-to-face element when it comes to that trust, building trust.
It's essential. It's essential. People, if you're going to innovate, people need to think outside the box and come up with ideas that aren't going to work. And
Yeah,
they've got to be comfortable knowing that when they are the one that comes up with that idea and someone else tells them, I don't think that's going to work, that it's okay.
yeah, exactly. And I think that's true. You know, if you talk to lots of companies who do innovation well, that's what it takes. Is the ability to people to stand up and not be afraid of being laughed at or not being afraid of being shot down. You know, one in 100 of those crazy ideas will be your next product. You know, that's the reality.
Yeah, well, obviously you're not beating anyone with sticks for which is, one of the nice things about being remote is you can't beat anyone with a stick. However, maybe it's the fear of the stick. I digress. I digress. Well, you as the founder, you had to close those first few deals there at Littledata yourself by hook or crook, and that's obviously a great learning experience, experimenting with different presentation methods, experimenting with different consultative engagement techniques, engaging with people that were referred to you. It's a lot to learn. It's a lot to encapsulate. How many deals did you actually close before you made the decision? All right, I'm going to hire a sales executive that's going to capture this and systematize it.
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I think I'm not. We took a slightly different path of the business. I mean, we've always obviously been a product-led firm, but I think because of the kind of go-to-market via the Shopify App Store, and then through that, through a lot of agency and other tech partners, we really didn't have. You know, we it was a long time before we actually had any person with the title of salesperson. And so my co-founder Ari and I have sort of led on some of the sales for quite a long time, even though that's not our full-time role. And that's worked fine for us. You know, I think that the deals that we do have, mainly we've never really found outbound to be particularly effective. We're really an inbound marketing company, and often when they come into us, they actually have quite technical questions, and what they actually want is a kind of technical product demo and understand, just is it going to solve their problem? And once they're convinced that actually we solve those technical problems, then they're fairly confident of signing up and starting the trial. So yeah, I think it's taken us a lot longer than most actually to get there. That said, I think that one of the things we'll probably be doing later this year is scaling up our sales team, because I think we're at a stage now of product market fit where like we do just need to get more. We've sort of sold to the early adopters. We're now in become the mainstream, and we need to convince more people who are maybe a little bit more reticent to give it a go.
Well, I mean, it's you know the market that you know, and
Yeah,
that's kind of one of the things that a sales leader is supposed to do is figure out the markets that you don't know
that's
and
true.
make a
That's true.
plan and shake the tree there. But
I think also we know that if we go to other, I think, as I said, that route to market is very specific to Shopify. I think if we go to other outside of that world, to other composable stacks, like we know we have to build a bit more of a sales led route to market. Like there just isn't the same, there aren't the same mechanisms that you can use without actually having, as you say, someone that's actually, solving that exact problem. How do we get to that market?
well, it's much more partner focused environment
Yeah,
when you're in the composable world, where you're not going to market alone. You're going to market in concert with
yeah,
certain partners, either a platform or a CDP or a PIM or take your pick.
yeah.
You're better off hunting as a team, hunting as a pack.
Yeah, and that's got to be able to activate that from your side. I mean, I think that's what we know is you got to, like we have to be able to in that world, we have to actually have the partnerships and salespeople to be able to activate that.
At this point, have you raised capital for Littledata, or has it been all bootstrap?
So mainly bootstrap. We've raised about $1 million from angel investors in the UK. So we're lucky enough to have some good contacts in the London sort of angel scene. There's a healthy, particularly fintech ecosystem here, and that's I think that was really useful back in. I think we took the first angel money back in sort of 2019, just to actually move away from a kind of managed services business to be purely, pure SaaS. I think we've never done this. We've never done a VC round. I think at this stage we're pretty close to profitability, and I think we like the fact that we've kept it lean and very customer focused. I honestly think there's the healthy thing about being customer funded. I think is the fashion way to call it, bootstrapped, customer funded. Is that you absolutely do have to ship stuff fast that your customers want. That's how you grow the revenue. Is to actually solve real customer pain points. You don't have the luxury of waiting a few years for that to sort of come true.
Are you planning on doing a dog and pony show for the investment community, or at this point, as you said, you're customer funded, you don't have to?
The investment world's changed over the last year, and it's interesting because we did have some conversations midway through last year about doing a venture round, and I think the feedback we got is that people really want to see profitability now. That like the days of sort of just wanting to know about AOR growth are gone. I mean, it's not that isn't important. Obviously, growth gets you to profitability eventually. But actually, at the stage we're at, most investors would rather we were already profitable, and then they just kind of don't have to worry about survivability anymore. They can just focus on how to swing at a bigger fence. And I think that's where we're trying to get to at the moment. Is let's get there and then look at our options. Because honestly, I think there's no if you can prove that you can get there and you can actually build a viable SaaS business, then there's no shortage of cash to accelerate it from that point.
Absolutely, and I think that the days of just seeking the next unicorn are kind of behind us. I mean, every investor is looking for a unicorn, but they're looking first and foremost for a shrewd set of operators that understand their customer and that can deliver with a repeatable margin and that's profitable.
Right.
And if they've got those fundamentals, then they're making the determination, do we have the appropriate resources as an investment firm to accelerate them? Or are we only going to be a participant in the fundraising for that or in providing the capital for it? But
And I think we're sort of there's two different games there. An early stage where you have got no revenue and kind of your only way of getting to a sizable revenue is to pitch the big growth and seed investment. But as I said, we've managed to get there with no capital. So at this point, it doesn't make sense to pitch us as a kind of a kind of part of your portfolio spread betting on getting that unicorn. We're basically a solid company. We're not going to be a $1 billion company, but we're definitely worth a decent amount if we continue to solve this very real problem for this very defined niche of customers.
No, we don't know. Could be.
We don't know.
Could be.
Could be.
Who knows?
Hey, there's certainly enough brands out there with a problem. I think that's what I always think about myself.
Yes,
It's like I have to sort of divorce. I'm a realist. I always think about like where's the next sale coming from? Where's the next thing? But if I take a step back, you look at the amount of dollars being spent on on performance marketing globally by e-commerce brands. I mean, it's insane. If you can take a chunk of that by optimizing it, I think that's a very big pie.
It is a very big pie. Well, I am a recruiter, and I would be remiss if I didn't give you the opportunity at this point, Edward. If you were looking for someone a key person that you need for your team, if you'd like to share with my network who you're looking for right now, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I mean, I think I know you work a lot with in the sales world, and I think a great salesman is probably someone that we need to add to the team this year. I think that it's likely to be someone who is already knows the e-commerce world well, has successfully sold to kind of our sweet spot of customers, which are kind of maybe 2 to 50 million GMV brands, and kind of knows enough about enough about analytics and marketing to know that it's a challenge and why it's a challenge. Yeah, I think someone with that background would have probably a very easy job of translating what we're doing into sales, because honestly, there is demand out there. And I think if I look at some of our competition and I think why what are they doing differently that we're not, I always come back to like actually needing to sort of grow that sales function.
And I would argue spending an awful lot more on marketing without getting resulting sales is something else they're doing. But that's probably good on you. That's probably good on
Yeah,
you.
it's good enough. I
But
mean, that's we don't have the dollars to do it, so it's kind of like a mistake that we will avoid.
excellent. Well, that's good. Well, any final thoughts, Edward?
I mean, I think we're always open more generally to kind of partnership interest. As I said, I think if you're listening to this and you're thinking, wow, that sounds interesting. I wonder where they could do it for my platform or my tech stack. Then yeah, let's chat. We might not do it now, but that's exactly how we discover where to take the product to next.
Outstanding. All right. Well, Edward Upton of Littledata, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I'm sorry that we did not have any alpacas or llamas wander into the frame there in the barn, but maybe next time.
Yeah, no, they want to sleep now. It's late in the day for them now. But next time I'll wake them up.
Good deal. Signing off. Thanks for listening to Martalks. Please leave a review and a rating on your platform of choice. We're available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all major podcast platforms. To find out more about how the Rosenstein Group can help you find the right leaders for your client development teams in MarTech and e-commerce, please visit our website, rosensteingroup.com.